So we have Adrian Clark in P1, Steve Rubens in P2, Trumpets third, Tero Tylers in fourth, Nick Alexander fifth, Miguel in sixth. And the lights are on as we are heading through the grid here, as it is lights out and away we go as they head down into the first corner. It seems to be everyone's got off of the start line very good as they're chopping and changing down there. And is Adrian Clark able to hold on to the position on the outside into the first corner? He does a great hold of position there as Trumpets going side by side through the first corner and manages to hold onto that position through the center S's as they head up here for the first time. If someone slightly goes off track there, down in P5, and they're going to lose a position or hang it round the outside as they head into Dunlop Curb. It's always very treacherous here as they head back in, and he gives up the position. I think that was Daniel Snortland there who just gave up the position, rightfully so, to ensure he gets back on track. And Adrian Clark has lost the position to Stephen Rubens there, two silver class drivers, as Tero is eyeing up Adrian as they head down into the hairpin here for the first time. Is he going to have a look at Adrian? No, but he gets, oh, there's contact behind, and someone has lost their rear wing and has gone straight on. It does, oh, there's plenty of, oh no, it's absolute carnage down in that hairpin. Let's have a look at the replay and see exactly what occurred. It does seem like someone just lost sight of their braking marker. And, oh, it's Daniel Snortland, I think, who has made contact there with that yellow livery. And then, oh, likewise, everyone just, oh, no. Well, that is what can happen in this series and at Suzuka. We got fortunate in the F4 car, but in the F3, not so much. And I think we've lost a number of the higher ranking drivers there. Danny Henney is still alive down in 14th position. He did start in 20th. James Gill looks to have survived. Carl Power down in P10, but I think Luke Power is in the pits. He is the big scout in that, unfortunately, down in 25th. Tom Jenkinson looks like we've lost as well. Nick Alexander and Daniel Cook. So really unfortunate there is Adrian eyeing up Steve Rubens down into T1. But while that is, of course, someone's lost, that is others' gains. So we'll see if the likes of Carl Power, Tim Ellis are able to make up positions. Spanners seems to have been a big beneficiary there of that incident, who is now up into 6th place, tracing down his co-host Trumpets into P5. We'll see how feisty that gets as Spanners is eyeing up the gold rear wing of Trumpets livery. But Steve Rubens still holding on to the lead from Adrian Clark at the moment. Tero Tylers, who I thought would have closed up a bit more on Adrian and Steve, is just patiently waiting down in P3. Daniel Snortland, who is very, very fortunate, who inadvertently caused that massive crash, and that set of, who was the first domino really who caused that crash, is still ongoing. We'll see if the stewards think anything of that after the race is done and dusted, but seems to have got away without any damage and doesn't seem to have any performance issues, so very fortunate for him. But through Spoon Corner for another time as Adrian goes a little bit wide there on the through Spoon Corner, and that's compromised his exit a bit, lost him the toe of Steve in front, and Tero's right up behind Adrian now. Is Tero going to have a look at Adrian through 130? Oh, this is a very bold move here. Adrian is a fair driver and gives up the position as they head through 130R, but has that left Adrian vulnerable to those behind? It has, as Adrian's lost it. Adrian has somehow lost it, I think, on the outside curb and has fallen down the pack there all the way to 19th position, a 20th position. Not quite sure what's happened there, but unfortunately, due to that overtake by Tero, Adrian has made a mistake and unfortunately lost it. Here we go as, oh, Daniel Snortland again, he's on an absolute warpath. He has just wiped Adrian Clark out there with a very opportunistic move through 130R, and I don't know what Daniel's car is made out of, but I need to know, because he is still in this race and still looks like that his car is intact. But that is a real shame for Adrian there. A bit opportunistic by Daniel. He is a fair racer, but seems to be, but unfortunately just slightly misjudged that one, and I don't know how he's still in a podium position. But you have to do what you can of those lucky moments. But I'm sure the stewards again will be looking at that one after the race. But that's promoted Spanners up into P4, and Tim Ellis there has got past Trumpets as well. So Spanners did get past Trumpets, and Tim has made quick work with him. So unfortunately, with that incident with Adrian, we didn't really get to see two co-hosts going side by side. But Spanners will now be looking up ahead at Daniel, who is still surviving in this race. Tero, that has obviously with that incident of Adrian, well, he made a clean overtake on Adrian through 130R, has promoted himself up into P2, and he's now looking at on the next lap to have a look at doing the same move on Steve Rubens here as they head through 130R. Is he going to make back-to-back moves through 130R? He has, and that's full Steve out wide, but he has to be very careful, as Steve is now going to be looked at by Daniel on the inside through the first chicane, and Daniel by Steve being pushed out there, out of position by Tero, has left himself vulnerable to Daniel and also to Spanners behind, who is looking at a move here in the toe of Steve, and it's going to be a pretty routine move as someone comes out of the pit lane there, and Spanners is now promoted himself up into P3. So thus far, like it was in round 2, the second race of the evening in the F3, Spanners is coming alive. Of course, the F3 car has been a staple of the Missed Apex Community and Championship for a number of years, and clearly those years are doing Spanners a massive benefit here as he looks at Daniel and the potential win in this second race, as he is only just 1 second behind the leader, Tero Tylus. But Tim Ellis in P5 is making some good ground, as well as Carl Power. James Gill down there in 9th position. So Danny Henney in 11th, slowly progressing through up from P20. It is a tall order to make up all of those positions. While, of course, you win the first race, it does put you at a disadvantage in the second race. 20 positions is, or 19 positions is a tall order for anyone to make up on pace alone. But we look here at James Gill, who is eyeing up Miguel as they head into Spoon Corner. It is a very tempting corner to overtake on, but unfortunately there are plenty of incidents there if you try and make a move. It's all about being patient and focusing on your exit, making use of the toe. But however, James here while he's getting the toe from Miguel is also getting the toe from Trumpets up ahead in that shiny gold livery as they go through 130R. Trumpets goes defensive on the inside, and they're almost looking at free wide as they head into the chicane, and Miguel cleverly backs out there as he was kind of left nowhere to go, with Trumpets up ahead of him defending very well, and James makes an opportunity there and gets past Miguel, and he's now got his sights set on Trumpets in P7. But as we head up to the leaders, we have Tero, who is under attack from Daniel, with Spanners very close behind. The front three are very, very close, with 5 laps into this race. Just like the first race, Suzuka providing plenty of action and some great racing. A lap car there smartly getting out of the way in a very kind of difficult and unfortunate position through the center S's, but everyone manages to get through unscathed, thankfully. And this battle here with Trumpets behind Steve Rubens is just all aboard the Rubens train, because you can see there that Miguel close behind, as well as Danny Henney, who is now up into P10. And we'll see how hard Miguel fights Danny Henney here as they head into the hairpin, and doesn't fight him very hard, as James Gill also simultaneously slides up the inside of Trumpets. And Danny, I imagine, will make quick work of Trumpets as well. Of course, they're all racing in their respective classes. Trumpets in the gold class. Steve Rubens is comfortably leading in this race in the silver class ahead of Miguel, who is 4 positions back. So just need to be smart about where you finish, of course, in your respective classes. But the racer in us does always sometimes override that instinct or that decision, the racing instinct, sorry. But Miguel here having a look through 130R. But at the front, we jump up ahead at the front as Daniel is looking at the back of... Oh, he just has to check up there on Tero. And will that leave Daniel vulnerable to Spanners here down into T1? I think it will. Spanners... Daniel was looking for the move for the lead, but now he might be vulnerable to P3. Oh, Spanners. As Spanners slides up the inside here with the toe. Under the braking, gets the move done, and Spanners up into P2. Bided his time and made that move stick. What a great way to capitalise on those in front of you. Be patient and just get the move done. Tero now is up ahead, and we'll see if Spanners is able to overtake him. Spanners does look to be a little bit more in control of the car at this moment in time, as Tero must know that he has Spanners behind him, or those very close. You can see the pack closing up there as Carl now into P4, closing up with only 6 laps remaining as Daniel gets very close, under braking into the second deck net here. Is Spanners going to go defensive into the chicane? We'll see. And no, he doesn't. Spanners comfortably just covers off Daniel there, gets a nice exit while he didn't quite hit the apex as well as Daniel did. But Daniel does have to be wary of a charging Carl Power in P4, and Tim Ellis once again in that position, just ready to capitalise on any potential issues that may occur up ahead. Danny Henney is in P7, chasing down James Gill now after starting in 20th, so a good result for him. And also a mention has to go to Alex Smith down in P15 as it stands, started dead last in this race after not a very good after starting dead last due to a very poor first race, is now up into 15th place. So a good recovery from him, and potentially with 6 laps remaining, that might not be the end of the gains he makes. So great going for him, the current gold class leader overall in the championship. As we head up ahead, as Miguel goes side by side with Stephen Williams there. Stephen under attack, and also he's attacking, but he's also under attack from Alex Dubbersberger behind. Could we see an incident here as Miguel goes to cover off the inside? Could Alex get 2 in 1 here down into T1? We're going to see 3 wide. It's 3 wide as Alex Dubbersberger goes into turn 1, and Steve Williams swoops round the outside, making use of that aggressive outside line, braking later, and what a move that was. That could have ended absolutely terribly for all 3 of them there. Miguel in the middle thought, no, I am going to survive this, and just sensibly backed out as Alex went through on the inside, and Stephen Williams just zipped through your screen there and took hold of that 9th position, and very quickly could be taking P8 as well as he eyes up Steve Rubins. He needs to be careful here. Overtaking through the Degners is a very, very risky place to overtake, and he is in the draft here. Just backs off slightly, just checks up. Is he going to go for a move into the hairpin? He does, and Stephen Rubins allows Alex Dubbersberger to get through. But now Stephen Rubins, after being 4 positions ahead of his nearest rival in the silver class, Miguel, is now got Miguel all over him. So stay tuned on the timing tower there to keep an eye out on whether or not Miguel and Steve have a race before this full race is over and done with. As it's getting very tight there on the exit. Andrew Sexton in the gold class as Miguel all over the back of Stephen Rubins, and oh no, we're not going to see 3 wide through 130R, are we? Madness if we do. And sensibly, Andrew thinks better of it, but he is thinking about tucking up on the inside here as Miguel goes defensive to cover off Steve Rubins. And Steve Rubins there loses a position to his rival in the silver class, Miguel, and to Andrew Sexton in the gold class. And unfortunately, may lose a position to Colton Myers as well, directly behind him as he's tucked up very close. Let's see if they go side by side down into T1. And they are, Andrew Sexton there chasing Miguel. I imagine he won't take him much longer to get past him as Steve Rubin goes side by side, tries to hang it round the outside there, and unfortunately he has lost another position. So not a great couple of laps there from Steve. He was comfortably up in P7, but just by getting put out of position by those faster drivers coming through, sensibly allowing them through, has unfortunately allowed those behind him to capitalise on him being out of position, and now he's down in P12. But as we head up to the lead, it was one ball with Stephen Williams and Alex Dubbersberger, who were very closely fighting P2 and P3 last time around, rounding off the podium in the F4 race. They are closely fighting, but as we head up ahead, it has got very, very tight. With 4 laps remaining, Carl Power has managed to get himself into P3, has his sights set on Spanners, who hasn't been able to close that gap and fight Tero up in front, who is still in P1. How hard will Carl fight this after losing that pole position down into T1 from Danny Henney, and then subsequently 2 more positions and finishing outside of the podium He'll be looking to rectify that this time around in a reverse race, and he is in the toe of Spanners here. How hard does Spanners defend? Does he let him have the inside? Carl sensibly just checks up, biding his time, and Spanners is close to Tero here. So does Carl get in the way of Spanners fighting Tero with 4 laps remaining? Carl's got to believe that he has the pace to win this race, but Spanners is all up behind Tero at the moment as he tucks to the inside. They move to the outside. Is Spanners going to swoop round the outside here? Very aggressive, late on the brakes, and Spanners, what a move into P1. Carl had a front row seat to that move, while Spanners was looking at defending from Carl behind. He then absolutely executed a great exit out of the chicane, and what a move that was, and what fair, respectful racing that was with Tero as well, defending to the inside, moving more to the outside to try and maximise his line into the first corner. But fair and clean racing. I've seen so many incidents in weekly officials and my own races down into T1, but this evening has been very, very good, fair and respectful racing. So pat on the back to everyone. The Spanners does lock up a little bit there, and that puts off Tero as Carl nearly runs into the back of Tero there. And it seems to be, but that's actually benefited Tero to get on the throttle a little bit earlier. So while Spanners did make a great overtake there down into T1, it's now going to be roles reversed if Tero is able to execute his exit through Spoon Corner, as Carl Power just blinking a little bit there. Hopefully that's not the case. We want to see these guys finish and sort this out on track rather than there be technical issues. But all of them in a bit of a draft at the moment, as Daniel Snorton does seem to have a run on Carl Power, more so than Tero does have on Spanners. Carl goes to defence on the inside, and Daniel, no, for the 3rd time this race, hits another driver, and it seems that unfortunately has wiped out Tero, and Tero has just been launched into the path of Carl Power and collected him as well. Let's have a look at this back from a different angle, and just outbraked himself there trying to get around the outside of Carl Power, and Carl Power unfortunately there in P3 has lost his front end. Tero has lost his rear wing, and while Daniel's car was indestructible at the start of this race, he wasn't able to survive a 3rd car contact for this time around. It was a wishful thinking move, just slightly misjudged it, and unfortunately, yes, that has wiped out 2 other cars fighting for that podium position. But the biggest beneficiary of that incident is Spanners, who now has a 2.5 second lead over Tim Ellis in P2, and Danny Henney is now up into P3, 17 positions gained. He got past James Gill, starting in P20. This has definitely been a night to remember for Danny Henning. And James Gill in P4. Stephen Williams still fighting Alex Dobsberger in P6. But Spanners, let's see if he can hold on to it. He has just 2 laps remaining to hold off the charging Tim Ellis, another veteran in this F3 car and the Missed Apex Championship. We'll see if he is going to be able to close down a 2-second gap in the last 2 laps. It's a tall order. Let's see if Spanners has a cool head, but we could be seeing the Missed Apex host winning this 2nd race. It was a podium position for him last time around in the Charlotte Roval, as we see Carl Power still continuing this race with no front end. Look at that. If you were curious as to how an F3 car was built, there you go. But yeah, I'm be surprised if Carl even knows he's lost his front end there. He probably just thinks he's got some front wing damage after that incident, but very unfortunate for him, and also for Tero, where I'm not entirely sure where Tero is. He is down in 14th position. Carl Power somehow still in the top 10 of this race, but Tero there running in P2, was running in P1 for the majority of this race as well. No fault of his own, has unfortunately become a victim of that incident by that mistake of Daniel Snortland, who is in the pits in P17. So we Spanners here 2 seconds ahead of Tim. It does seem like he is going to be able to hold on to this. So let's see if Danny going to be able to chase down Tim here and get that P2, gaining 18 positions on this reverse grid race. Absolutely capitalising on the absence of Brad Philpott this evening. For that overall championship lead. Of course, he has his own gains to be made in the Platinum class, but Danny, another veteran, Tim and Danny had plenty of battles throughout their time in the Missed Apex Championship. We're in Season 8 now, no longer just in the one car, so you need to be better all round, which Danny is definitely showcasing tonight, as well as Tim, of course, who had a very decent result in the F4. They are gaining on Spanners, but Spanners with 1 lap remaining as they head through the chicane for the second to last time does have just a 1.5 second lead, or just under a 1.5 second lead from Tim. That should be enough. Hopefully it's not the commentator's curse, guys. That should be enough for Spanners to hold on to what will be a great win this evening. So if we head back just a little bit, Danny chasing down Tim. He is gaining 6 tenths behind now. We'll see if he's able to get some extra speed out of the corners. It's only really the hairpin and the Degners where he can make up a lot of time. If he can maintain that 5 tenths that he is behind Tim now, he will have an opportunity at that move through 130R and into the chicane. It's all about the setup of this whole lap. Even from the first sector, you are thinking about setting up the overtake into the last sector. James Gill, 3.6 seconds behind Spanners, 1.7 seconds behind Danny. A good race from him thus far. Another clean race for him. Stephen Williams comfortably holding off Alex Dobbsberger again. And we have Miguel in P7 leading the silver class, as well as Colton there in P8. Cole Power has gained another position into P9 with no front end. Not quite sure how he's managed to do that. So a real, it's just, yeah, really not sure how he's managed to do that, as there's 2 cars going side by side behind him, which is Andrew Sexton and Steve Rubins. So Steve Rubins trying to fight Andrew there for that P10, and it doesn't seem like he's been able to hold that position. But here we go through 130R for the last time, with a charging Tim Ellis and Danny Henney behind him. If there was one more lap in this race, he might have been caught, but he hasn't. And Spanners, through the last corner, is going to win your second race this evening at Suzuka in round 3 in the F3 car. Your host of the Missed Apex podcast, Spanners, is your winner in the gold class, finishing 8 positions ahead of the next gold class driver, Andrew Sexton, in P9. We have a great result from Tim Ellis there, capitalising on that incident, finishing in P2, and Danny Henney also finishing in P3, rounding off the podium. But let's grab Spanners for that all-important interview. Spanners.
Still people racing. Oh, sorry, am I in the comms?
You are indeed,
yeah, it's
Mr.
Spanners.
Spanners.
Let's go, vamos, finally! 7 seasons before getting a win. I was trying to be respectful of the other people still racing, so I was trying to keep quiet, but get in! What a race!
Well, we know how much it means to you. I didn't realise 7 seasons, really? Has it been that long?
It's been going a while, and honestly, the most I ever have threatened is in this car, in the F3, and picking up, the odd top 5. I know it's a reverse grid race, but I started mid-pack. I had so much work to do there, and it was incredible. Like, a little bit of luck. I don't know what happened to Kyle, but honestly, I'm telling you now, I would have fought Kyle to the absolute death. I already took him back once, so I was like, no way am I playing nice for this one.
That was an absolute great drive, Spanners. We saw it all on the TV screens, and the move to get into the lead was one to remember. It was to remember for sure.
So it's one of those where you go, like, I know I have the pace on him. I wasn't sure if I had the pace to keep the other guys behind, and that's when you just need just a little bit of luck. But look, Tim Ellis was behind me in clean air, 2.7 seconds behind. I was going like ultra steady, so I didn't drop it, and I still had the pace to stay ahead of them. So I'm not calling it a full like reverse lucky win. I'm taking it.
No, it was definitely on merit, mate, and congratulations.
I've got to stop because I've got a lump in my throat.
What a result for Spanners there. Let's have a look at the final standings of our second race this evening. Spanners there at the top of your sheet. As he said, the first time in 7 seasons he's won a race in the Mixed Apex Championship. Tim Ellis in second position. A great drive again this evening for Danny Henney, finishing in third, as well as James Gill, Stephen Williams, and Alex Dobertsberger rounding off the top 6. Miguel Morland is your top leader there, or top finisher in the silver class, finishing ahead of Colton Myers in 7th and 8th. Andrew Sexton in 9th. Carl Power, after that unfortunate incident, somehow brings it home in P10 with no front end. Unbelievable there from Carl Power. Steve Rubins in P11. Stephen Taylor in 12th. Tero Tyler, who unfortunately was a complete victim in that incident, getting caught up in that chicane with Carl Power, finishes in 13th. Daniel Cook in 14th. Alex Smith, a great drive from him after starting dead last, makes up 11 positions to finish 15th. Frick finishes in 16th. Tom Jacobson 17th. Daniel Snorterland, who had an indestructible car for the majority of the race, unfortunately 3 car contacts was too many, finishes in 18th. Jose Coig in 19th. Luke Power, who got caught up in that hairpin incident on the first lap, in 20th. One to remember for him, but he will start in reverse pole for the Super Formula race coming up very shortly. Nick Alexander in 21st. Mark Greenhow 22nd. Adrian Clark, who was on pole position for this race, but unfortunately was a victim through 130R through no fault of his own. Christopher Holsworth in 24th, Trumpets in 25th, and Sean Bennett in 26th. And that is your second round of this evening completed. We have one more remaining in the most powerful car that we have in this championship, the Super Formula car. It's going to be a cracker, guys. First 2 races have been third time's a charm, eh? We'll be back shortly.